I don't want to sound like doom and gloom, but I'm just saying I think you have to have someone who has a true spiritual understanding of success as a person, in that he doesn't need the material satisfaction or accoutrements to really be about a movement. If you have a leader come along like that in the United States, there could be a renaissance, and there could be a re-energizing of the uplifting of the Black population in the United States, and a joining with countries in Africa, say like Malawi, where Malawi is totally changed. They're totally in control of their country, and the country has a booming economy. It's possible, but you have to have leadership that puts forth a message. It doesn't buy into the fact that I have to be materially rewarded and financially rewarded to be about the movement rather than the cause.
All right, this is where I found it a little bit challenging now. Uh, the movement of Michael Garvey, then Michael Means, Martin Luther King. How come when this individual left the scene, the movement sort of have, I don't want to say falling apart, but they didn't continue again? Because I want to believe, I've interviewed a number of people asking them the same question I am tempted to ask you today, which is, have we gotten what we wanted from the movement, from the protest, from the cry on the street that we needed something? Because if we haven't gotten what we wanted, why did we stop the march? What do you want to say about that?
Well, I think part of it is having an individual. I mean, Marcus Garvey, if I remember right, organized the largest group of people to ever purchase something in the United States. And I think he led with the movement to Liberia. And he had a very strong personality. He had a very clear message. And at the time of his strength was Black people in the United States were being horribly mistreated. Obviously, Dr. King and Malcolm X came along at the same time. And I think with the successes of the civil rights movement, and again, doors opening, money flowing, um, I think people just changed their minds. I give you another example. When you're talking about the movement just dying out, let's take Black Lives Matter here in the United States. It started out as a movement about police brutality and the mistreatment of Black people. But now the leadership of the organization is under national scrutiny because they collected millions of dollars and they spent them personally. And when you do that, you lose the support of your membership, because now they don't see you as a leader for change. They see you as a leader of opportunity. And I think that's kind of what happened to the movements in the 70s, is a lot of Black leaders, a lot of political elected officials were bought off.
Everybody take on the argument of infiltration into some of these organizations. We will see also there is a hand of the monkey in the soup. Somebody has been fueling the division, and that has been on purpose too. But of course, we're not looking for a war, a world where we are not going to have opposition, where we are not going to have an enemy that want to kill us. In fact, I think the people who are prepared into the future must be those who are ready to defend it at any cost necessary. Not those who are hoping that there will not be enemy. No, the enemy will always be there. So if that is the case, we must be prepared. We must be prepared to stand our ground and be ready also to pay the cost, as it were. Now, look at Africa. We are over 1 billion people. We are not really demented. We are not sick. If we were to organize an army, it will be robust. There will not be lack of people to stand and take us armed to defend ourselves. In terms of technology, okay, Africa as a continent is not the top in the world and is not the most popular. But since technology is also a question of things that can be learned, With the Africans abroad and some of them at home who know how to operate within the realm of technology, the knowledge can also be passed on. And this is a continent that is full of resources. How can we just be handicapped? Looking at all the experts also that we have in the diaspora, professors, engineers, technicians in different fields. Sometimes I find it difficult to understand how we remain in this state of handicap, that we just complain that we cannot do it. Do you see any rational justification of why we should remain handicapped?
There's no justification for remaining handicapped. And when you talk about Africa, the continent of Africa is recognized as the richest continent in the world in terms of mineral rights. We can go back to the Congo and with Patrice Lumumba, when he won the election and he tried to organize the people of the Congo for the betterment of the people of the Congo. And of course, the United States and France orchestrated a coup and put Mobutu in power. My problem was they put Mobutu in power. He changed the name of the country to Zaire and all that good stuff. But they run him out of the country in 1995. At the point of 1995, when you removed him as your president or dictator, whomever he was, that should have been the interest in uplifting the country and its people. But it doesn't really look like the Congo is any better off now than it was when they forced him out. It seems like you just had people rise up and replace his theology rather than someone rise up and let's work for the betterment of the nation of the Congo and elevate the lives and free the minds of Congolese. So I don't want to be a pessimistic, but if you don't have leaders who come up with a greater cause than their own illumination, it's going to be difficult because people follow and they follow leaders, and they follow leaders who they want to be like. And if being like a leader means being rich, if it means having access, if it means having palaces and cars and all that stuff, you and I both know everybody can't have that in the country. Top, but everybody can be functional. And I think you have to have a leader that is truly about the people. And I think that's where we struggle, because human beings are still animals and animals still follow leaders.
Animals still follow lead. Maybe we need to learn from other animals on how to better organize a society. All right, now let's talk about the Truthsayer report. Tell me about it. How did it get started and what are you aiming at?
Okay, it got started because basically conversations like you and I are having, where we recognize the fact that information leads to knowledge and knowledge is power. And I, in my research, and I told you when I graduated a degree in political science here, and I just learned a lot of things that never were reported and people don't know. And it's really sad. So I started to do my podcast for the purposes of providing information, hopefully in an enjoyable format and not long. My podcasts range of 14, 15 minutes. They're long enough to give you valuable information, but they're not too long to lose your attention. And one of which I've enjoyed is I started last year in April. One was called France and the United States, the Brotherhood. And I talk about how the France and the United States became brothers when France supported the American settlers in creating the United States of America. And obviously the United States rescued France twice in World War I and in World War II. They bailed them out when they failed in the building the Panama Canal. And of course, the biggest one is Vietnam. Vietnam was a gold mine for the French. Most of the major rubber companies in the world operated in Vietnam: Goodyear, Bridgestone, Michelin. It was a gold mine. And when the French lost to Ho Chi Minh and the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong, I should say, France asked for the United States help And we went to war in the Vietnam War where over 58,000 U.S. soldiers were killed. And I try to point out the fact that you have to understand what drove the war and the willingness of American politicians and industrial leaders to sacrifice 58,000 citizens in order to keep the money flow coming.